Good morning, dear children. Buenos dias. How are you? Very good. Today we will discuss the third part of our chapter 1, History, class 9th, the French Revolution, and the topic is French society during the late 18th century. Let's start our next paragraph, next part. Yet even this measure would not have sufficed. Yet, still this measure, this condition would not have sufficed, would not have been sufficient, ample. French society in the 18th century was divided into three states. The French society was divided into three states. States means land-wise, into three kinds of lands, plots. In the 18th century, फ्रेंच सोसाइटी तीन भागों में बटी थी 18th सेंचुरी में, and only members of the third estate paid taxes, and the members of the third estate only they paid taxes to the government. The society of estates was part of the feudal system. Dear students, kindly write down in your notebook feudal. The word feudal means when something, a kind of society that was developed in Europe in the 8th century. So that was called feudal. A different kinds of rights were there to European society in the 8th century. The society of estates was part of the feudal system that dated back to the Middle Ages. ऐसा feudal system, एक ऐसा social system develop हुआ था in the 8th century in the Europe. The term old regime is usually used to describe the society and institutions of France before 1789. The term old regime, old rule, old reign is usually used to describe the society. इस टर्म को यूज़ किया जाता था, ओल्ड रेजिम को, ओल्ड शासन को यूज़ किया जाता था किसको डिस्क्राइब करने के लिए? सोसाइटी को एंड इंस्टीट्यूशंस ऑफ फ्रांस बिफोर 1789. 1789 के पहले फ्रांस के जो इंस्टीट्यूशंस थे, जो संस्थाएं थे, उनको डिस्क्राइब करने के लिए ओल्ड रेजिम वर्ड का यूज़ किया जाता था. यू कैन सी इन फिगर 2 क्लर्जी. क्लर्जी इज a man, clergyman, a holy man who is entitled in the Christian church. Then comes second, nobility. Nobility people, elite class people who have got privilege, their hereditary privilege from their ancestors, parents, grandparents. And third state, you can see here, big businessmen, merchants, court officials, lawyers, etc. They come under third state. Peasants and artisans. Peasants, farmers, artisans, people who are skilled in their handicraft. And then next, small peasants, landless labor, servants. So in the last category, you can see servants, landless labor. The people who do not or who did not have land, and the servants. Figure 2 shows how the system of estates in French society was organized. इस फिगर 2 में आप देख सकते हैं कि फ्रेंच सोसाइटी में, फ्रांसीसी समाज में किस प्रकार से ये स्टेट्स ऑर्गेनाइज्ड थे, सुसंगठित थे. पीजेंट्स मेड अप अबाउट 90% ऑफ द पॉपुलेशन. 90% ऑफ द फ्रेंच पॉपुलेशन वॉज मेड अप ऑफ पीजेंट्स, फार्मर्स who were doing agricultural work. However, only a small number of them owned the land they cultivated. Out of those people who owned land, who were involved into agriculture, only very small portion out of them, they had the land that was useful for cultivation. About 60% of the land was owned by nobles. 60% of the land was owned by nobles, means noble people. Noble, again, an elite class people in the society, privileged people in the society, they owned 60% of the land. The church and other richer members of the third estate, the church and other richer members of the third estate. Third estate, richer members who had money. The members of the first two estates, clergy and nobility. These members, that is the clergy and the nobility, enjoyed certain privileges by birth. They were very happy by birth because they had privileges from their ancestors, parents, grandparents, their parents. The most important of these was exemption from paying taxes to the state. The most important privilege was that they were exempted to pay taxes, means they were free, they were not to pay taxes, they were not entitled, they were not forced, they were not pressurized to pay taxes. That's why they were happy and they were privileged. The nobles further enjoyed feudal privileges. Feudal, I told you already, feudal means a different kinds of social system that was developed in the 8th century in Europe. These included feudal dues. Feudal dues, the people who had to pay money to the society, which they extracted from the peasants. So feudal dues were collected, extracted here means collected from the peasants, from the farmers. Peasants who were obliged to render services to the lord. So peasants were obliged, they were very thankful to provide their services to the lord, the elite class people whom they recognized as their lords, to work in his house and fields. They used to work in the house of the lord and their farming lands, their fields, to serve in the army or to participate in building roads. To serve in the army, either they were doing job, they were working in the army, or to participate in building roads, or they were building roads. Dear students, this is the end of the third paragraph and third part. Keep loving literature and social studies. See you in the next part. Thank you very much.